this is the biggest match of the NCAA season.
This match at 165 pounds is absolutely the biggest match that we will see in the regular season this year.
This could be the biggest match of the year, for sure. It's probably unquestionably the most anticipated match of the year.
Is this the biggest match of the season? Certainly one of the biggest matches of the season.
165, we said it all coming in.
The weight of weights. This is gonna be the toughest weight of the season.
2 NCAA champions in the deepest weight class in all of college wrestling.
How many times do you get to see number 1 versus number 2? Guys that have never wrestled each other before.
There's a lot of big matches throughout the entire wrestling season. I'm not sure that there's one that I'm more excited about than OToole versus Carr.
For Iowa State, David Carr.
David Carr is a monster wrestler for Iowa State University. He's the NCAA champion.
One of the most exciting wrestlers in the country right now.
He's a legacy wrestler.
Big presence in a room. He walks in, he doesn't only want the eyes, but he gets them.
Keegan OToole.
Keegan OToole is the reigning 165-pound national champion for the Missouri Tigers.
The babyface assassin.
He's the newest pillar for Brian Smith to build a lineup around.
Funky 2.0.
This is the beginning of a very long rivalry that will have an effect beyond NCAA wrestling, beyond Iowa State and Missouri.
And they are going to set the tone for future matches, for seeds for the Big 12s, for seeds for the NCAA championships, and they're the perfect style clash.
You want to see this collision of incredible leg attacks and speed versus the counter offense and scrambling of Keegan OToole.
High impact wrestling, high octane styles that, you know, they're gonna come out and leave it on the mat, and I really don't know what's gonna happen.
Keegan OToole is this scrambly wrestler that's almost impossible to beat, but David Carr has the tools to do it, and will he, can he? That's what we're gonna find out.
2 guys with this much history, this much behind them, this much intrigue, this much excitement. It very well could be the biggest match of the season.
We are going to see these guys wrestle a very long time, but this year is when we get to see it start. David Carr was raised by a champion wrestler. He was basically bred to be a champion.
David Carr's brother, Nate Carr Jr., summed it up by saying they come from a family with wrestling in their blood.
It's no surprise that David Carr is a fantastic wrestler when your dad's Nate Carr Sr.
Nate Carr was one of 16 siblings, and 5 of those were NCAA All-Americans, 2 of them were Olympians.
David Carr comes from, you know, wrestling royalty. Keegan OToole had a father who wrestled in junior high. A little bit different experience, but Keegan did get into the sport early.
So Keegan OToole is a product of the Askren Wrestling Academy, a la Ben and Max Askren.
He's a Ben Askren pupil. He approaches the sport in a similar way.
He's kind of followed that similar path to Ben on down to Missouri, and he's having similar, if not even more success than Ben had at this point in his career.
David Carr started wrestling a little bit late, but once he started, he was incredible. He was one of the biggest recruits.
He won a state title in Kentucky as an 8th grader, then he moved to Ohio at Massillon Perry, where he won 4 state titles there in Ohio.
Keegan OToole, I think around 17 years old, just kind of had a breakthrough and has been lights out ever since.
Coming up, you know, through Askren Wrestling Academy, he was really good, had a ton of success. He was the number 2 recruit in his class.
Really similarly to David, was amazing in high school.
A lot of similarities between David Carr and Keegan OToole. They're both junior world champions.
Keegan started his career as a true freshman, went out and placed 3rd in the NCAA, followed that up by winning a national title the next year, going undefeated, being in the Hodge Trophy running.
David Carr's NCAA career has been fantastic. You know, he was an NCAA champion as a freshman, #1 seed last year as a sophomore, got upset early on.
He falls, but he gathers himself and he wrestles all the way back to 3rd place.
David Carr, in most years and most weights, would be an odds-on favorite to win an NCAA title. Because of the composition of 165 pounds, he's one of 4 guys that could win it.
Coming into this year, 165 was declared the weight of weights. This is going to be the toughest weight of the season.
We got 3 NCAA champions, not only Carr and OToole, but also Shane Griffith, who not only won an NCAA title, but saved an entire wrestling program at Stanford doing it.
Not to mention NCAA finalist for Princeton, Quincy Monday.
You got Michael Caliendo, who's already beat Shane Griffith this year. You got Julian Ramirez.
While you have this super tough high end guys, you got all these really tough challengers that are nipping at these guys' heels.
This weight class is absurd, and Carr and OToole are kind of headlining it.
Missouri wrestling over the past 10, 20 years has been pretty remarkable considering Missouri struggled a lot the years prior to that.
Missouri is not like Iowa State in terms of when you think about their history. However, where Iowa State has fallen off, Missouri has picked it up.
They have been a national power, a national contender, almost immediately since Brian Smith got on campus. What he has done has been consistent in delivering and producing competitive wrestlers that are striving for championships.
Keegan is making his mark on Missouri wrestling, a freshman NCAA champion, a leader inside the room, and somebody who's trying to get them back towards a team trophy, and eventually, like all teams, they want to win, ultimately, that NCAA team title.
When you think of the traditional powerhouse wrestling programs, the history-rich wrestling programs, Iowa State gets mentioned right up there with Oklahoma State and Iowa and now Penn State.
In the last 10 to 15 years, they really haven't met up to the standard that they held historically.
Kevin Dresser, when he came on board, have really pushed the Cyclones back up to that elite level.
You're starting to see the work on the recruiting pay off, and David Carr was a huge piece. He was really the first big piece for Coach Dresser at Iowa State.
And it's not a coincidence that Iowa State wrestling has gotten better since then.
David Carr has been the catalyst to get Iowa State on the path back to greatness, on the path back to trophy contention.
Iowa State's on the rise and headed in the right direction. A lot of that has to do with the leadership of David Carr.
We will see them first wrestle in Columbia, Missouri.
On February 15th,
Missouri hosts Iowa State in a dual meet. They're Big 12 competitors.
So because these dudes are in the same conference, we could see them wrestle 3 times. We could see them wrestle first at the dual, then Big 12s. Those two are almost darn near a guarantee. And then third at NCAAs.
Like I said, we want to wrestle. We both want to beat each other. We're both going to wrestle hard. But ultimately, we're both going to try to glorify God the best we can.
If David Carr wins this match, I think we'll make 165 pounds even crazier because most people are probably leaning towards O'Toole.
David wins, he'll be the favorite again at Big 12s. If he can win at Big 12s, he'll get the seeding.
If David Carr wins this match, it's a statement. It says, hey, I'm up a weight, and now this is my weight class.
You go out, you go into a hostile crowd in Missouri, and you come out with your hand raised against their NCAA champion. How can that not just be an added win at your back?
Is there anybody specific you're really looking to kind of, get your hands on, get a feel for?
I mean, obviously, Keegan OToole.
Keegan OToole wins, it's going to confirm he is the complete wrestler that a lot of people thought he was.
If Keegan wins, I think it reaffirms what we believe or know is that 165 belongs to him at this point.
After February 15th, the winner of this match in the world of wrestling is being known as the favorite at 165.